Hey there, friends, and welcome to another episode of Book Reviews with Johnny Boy. So today the book in question is, I don't know, it's a little different. The Story of Stephen Foster by Esther M. Douty, and it was published in 1954. So it has that, it has a certain feel to it. I don't have the actual cover, just the side, the spine there. I do have this book cover, old school book cover that, I don't know, a teacher might have put on it or someone who just cared for their books. And the cool thing that I order from thrift books, I order most books used. Had this old school receipt, Paramount something or other. Something is April, looks like 1975. 22 April 75. Anyway, pretty cool. So this is a biography of Stephen Foster. And if for those of you who don't know Stephen Foster, he is kind of credited with being the first true American composer, because other composers that were composing in America previous to him or around that time were generally influenced by European music. Maybe came from Europe or studied European music, but he didn't really. His music mainly came from what he heard people singing in churches, at minstrel shows, as they were working on the wharfs, on the docks, in the rivers, the river docks. So, and from all classes, and definitely from different, not just, it was mainly white and black at the time. He was living in the South. Sorry, I forget where exactly. And he heard the work hands singing. He heard slaves sing in the fields on the occasions he had a chance to be at a farm with slaves, which wasn't often, but it happened. It was, so, when this book, it's pretty endearing. It's charming. It gives you a picture of this guy, Stephen Foster, as a person a little boy who just loved music and didn't exactly try to avoid schoolwork, but just wasn't interested in so much else, or regular work, to earn money. He wasn't interested in doing much else besides just enjoying life and taking it all in and writing songs. That was his greatest passion. But he also, he did jobs in clerk or things like that, bookkeeper. But he wasn't even looking to make a lot of money from his music. His family, I guess his brothers, the males, kind of pressured him. You got to sell your music for money. You can't just give it away. But of course, you're a kid, to have someone sing your song on stage and, that I wrote that song and people love it. That's way more than enough, right? So that kind of never left him, but he did make a living as a composer for many years. But he did have a relatively short life and died at the age of 37. And it had to do with him not being able to really provide for his family. It treads lightly on that because this is geared for children. But, you gather he was gambling and became an alcoholic probably. Also got sick. Just leaving a less than ideal, less than healthy life towards the end there. He had a wife and maybe one daughter who had to live separate, from him because mom needed to work and she was going to work in a different place where she can get the job, and he was going to stay where he could compose. At that time was New York, at least some part of that. Anyway, when I studied Stephen Foster in Brooklyn College Conservatory of Music, I was definitely blown away by how much great music he wrote, and influential it is. Like for Camptown Race is just a simple one. I mean, a simple and legendary one. Oh Susanna is another. This is Oh Susanna, now don't you cry for me. This is from a person who wrote that. That's not just like a folk song that was handed down. This guy, Stephen Foster, composed that when he was young too. I don't know, 20s or something, maybe teens. So he composed a lot. He did die kind of penniless, as they say. I think he had like 38 cents in his pocket or something like that at Bellevue Hospital when he was admitted. But he also had consumption. Yeah, he got sick, and he just plus wasn't taking care of himself. So that was malaria, I think it was, maybe. Yeah. Anyway, malaria. So when I learned about him, I learned that he was, worked with the minstrels. And the minstrel shows at that time, everyone was wearing blackface. They would like burn cork smeared on their face and like kind of pretend to be white people, actors, singers, entertainers, pretending to be colored folk, black folk. And that was just a tradition, and people went there and they laughed and had a good time. I don't know why that was such a delightful thing for people at that time. I guess it was, I don't know, they found it funny or entertaining at least. So me as a kid, learning about the 2000s. I guess very early 2000s, around 2000 or so, 2001. Of course, you'd think, and I'm Brooklyn College, it's like, wow, it's pretty racist that he was a part of that, but that was a tradition that existed. And that was an outlet for him to go to and hear great music at that time. You couldn't go buy an album or anything like that. And his family wasn't very musical. They weren't like playing music at home all the time or something. So you go where you can find it. And that was exciting, and people having fun there. It wasn't like evil people were running it. It was just the tradition that had evolved for whatever reason, that people want to hear it that way. They want their music that way, in that format. It was based on racist, making fun of people, at the expense of others. But anyway, so a lot of his music came through that. But it's certainly not everything. He wrote a lot of pieces just for a publisher. And okay, I guess I'm tired. Sorry, guys. But, I kind of remember learning about Stephen Foster. Hey, Stephen Foster is really a great composer, didn't know how to earn money. He had some troubles involved with this kind of racist culture. When I'm talking about when I was in college. So I wasn't impressed by him so much. I didn't see like the purity of it, But reading this book, it's written for children, or at least young adults, and you see that he's, he's a passionate guy who had some weaknesses, but contributed an enormous amount to Americans' musical legacy, especially in the early days, to make music that was truly American. You couldn't find anywhere else. It could only be born in America. That was a key thing, because you had the mix of the Southern whites and the slaves or the free blacks who were working manual labor jobs and singing, and that mix and the culture of the United States at the time created those songs. You couldn't get that in Europe or even other places that had black and white mix, like in South America or Caribbean islands or something. it just wasn't those two cultures combining. So it would that you wouldn't have got music that sounded American like that, you know. So it's kind of interesting. Anyway, do I recommend it? If you like old-fashioned children's books, definitely. And you like illustrations. It reads very easy. The chapters are nice length, you know, maybe 10 pages with, you know, pictures in between and very friendly font. It's nice. And it does not, I was like, he's only in his 20s and the book's almost over. I didn't realize he died so young. So it does spend a lot of time in his younger days, which is pretty cool. I guess there's quite a bit of artistic license. You know, she's putting dialogue in what his mom and brother say and stuff. I don't know how we could know any of that, but you get a picture that seems true to life and makes his character a lot more than one-dimensional. My son, who's 10, would like to read it now, so I think that's a cool thing. All right, until next time. Sorry for the yawning. It kind of took me by surprise. Just wanted to put this out there for you. All right, keep reading. Take care.